You know, they offered me everything. They said, Mr. Trump, just step aside, be quiet, let us handle it, and you'll have no problems. They offered me deals, they offered me power, they offered me money, more money than anybody could imagine. But I said no. I said absolutely not. Because let me tell you, folks, it wasn't just about me. It was about America. It was about freedom. It was about God's truth. And when God gives you a message, when he shows you a path, you don't sell out. You don't back down. You don't take the easy way out. You stand tall. You fight. That's what I've always done, and that's what I'll always do. The fake news, the corrupt politicians, the global elites, they thought they could control me. They thought I would fold like all the others. But I'm not like the others. I never was. I'm not bought. I'm not owned. I'm not controlled. And believe me, they hate that. They hate it. I gave up so much. Business, comfort, friends who turned their backs the moment it got tough. But I don't regret it, not for a single second. Because I knew deep down that God had placed me in this fight for a reason. And if you believe in God, if you trust him, you know he never makes mistakes. So yes, I walked away from everything they dangled in front of me. And I did it proudly. Because the message God gave me was clear. Stand up. Tell the truth, fight for the people, fight for America. And that's exactly what I did, and that's exactly what I'll keep doing. They came to me, folks, behind closed doors, very secret, very quiet, and they said, Mr. Trump, we can make your life easy. We can give you everything you want. We'll stop the investigations. We'll stop the fake news attacks. We'll make you a hero if you just play the game. But let me tell you something. I don't play their game. I never have, and I never will. Because their game is crooked. Their game is rigged. And it's rigged against you, against the American people. They wanted me to keep my mouth shut. To stay quiet about the corruption, the lies, the endless deals that sell out our country. They wanted me to smile, take the money and walk away. That's what every politician before me did. Every single one of them. And that's why we lost our factories, we lost our jobs, we lost our pride. But I said no. I said, I can't do that. I won't do that. Because God put me here for a reason. And when God gives you a mission, when he shows you a message, you can't betray it. You can't turn your back. So instead of their easy path, I chose the hard one. I chose to stand up to the media, to the big tech, to the billionaires who think they own America. And believe me, they don't like it. They don't like me because I don't need them. I don't bow to them. I bow only to God. And that's why they attack me every single day. Because they know I can't be bought, I can't be silenced, and I can't be stopped. When I said no to them, when I refused their deals, that's when the storm really started. They unleashed everything, folks. Everything. The fake news went absolutely crazy. Headlines every single day. Lies, lies, and more lies. They said things about me that weren't true, things they knew weren't true. But that's how they operate. They attack, they smear, they tried to destroy. And it wasn't just the media. It was the prosecutors, the judges, the so-called experts. They opened investigations, one after another, endless witch hunts. No president, no leader, no businessman, nobody has ever been treated like this in the history of our country. Never. But I knew why. It wasn't because of me. It was because of the message. Because I refused to do what they wanted. I lost people I thought were friends, people I helped, people I trusted. They vanished, disappeared. Some even turned against me. That's how it works when you go against the system. They try to isolate you. They try to make you feel alone. Business, I took hits, huge hits. Banks cut ties, companies pulled contracts, places with my name, beautiful places, suddenly acted like they didn't know me. All because I stood up, all because I wouldn't bow down. But let me tell you, I never regretted it, not 1 second. Because what is wealth? What is comfort? What is fame if you lose your soul? If you turn your back on God's calling, you have nothing. And I wasn't about to do that. There were nights, very tough nights, when I sat there and asked myself, is it worth it? Is this fight worth the cost? And Every single time, deep inside, the answer was yes. Absolutely yes. Because America is worth it. Freedom is worth it. Truth is worth it. God's plan is worth it. They thought I would fold. They thought I would quit. They thought I would be broken. But instead, every attack made me stronger. Every loss sharpened my resolve. And every attempt to silence me only proved one thing. They're terrified. They are terrified of the truth. They're terrified of the people. And most of all, they're terrified of God's plan. So yes, the price was high. I gave up a lot, but I never gave up myself. I never gave up my faith. I never gave up the mission. And that's why today I stand stronger, louder, and more determined than ever before. There were nights, very tough nights, when I sat alone and wondered, can I keep going? Can I really carry this fight any longer? The weight was incredible. Nobody in history has faced what I've faced. Nobody. And believe me, they tried to make me quit. But when I turned to God, I found something the elites could never give me. Peace. Real peace. The kind of peace you can't buy, you can't fake, you can't manufacture. It comes only from Him. I remember kneeling, praying, asking, Lord, am I on the right path? Am I really doing what you want me to do? And the answer was not in words, but in strength, a calmness, a fire in my heart that said, yes, keep going, do not stop. I am with you. That's how I knew. That's why I never broke. Because my strength didn't come from money, didn't come from polls, didn't come from headlines. It came from faith. And when you walk with God, you walk in power. The media laughs at faith. The elites dismiss it, but I've seen what happens when you put God first. Doors open, enemies fail, and mountains move. I stood not because I was stronger, but because He lifted me up every single time. So when they attacked me, I prayed harder. When they tried to silence me, I spoke louder. And when they said, you can't win, I said, watch me, because with God, all things are possible. And let me tell you something, I believe that. I believe it with all my heart. That's why no matter how hard they hit, I'm still here, stronger than ever, because my faith was and always will be bigger than their lies. This mission was never about me, never. The fake news wants you to believe it's about Trump, it's about ego, it's about one man. Totally wrong. It's about you, it's about the American people. It's about our country, our freedom, our future. When I stood up, I didn't do it to make my life easier. Believe me, my life would be much easier if I just stayed quiet, if I took the deals, if I played along. But that's not why I was put here. God didn't place me here to be silent. He placed me here to be a voice for millions of Americans who felt forgotten, abandoned, betrayed. I walk into rallies and I see faces, men, women, young, old people who work hard, who love their families, who love their country. They're not billionaires. They don't own the media. But they have something bigger, faith, courage, and love for America. And I said to myself, these are the people I'm fighting for. The elites want to make it all about themselves. They live in luxury while the American worker struggles. They make deals overseas while our factories close. They laugh at you, they mock your values, they mock your God, and I said, no more. Not on my watch. So when I speak, when I fight, it's not about Donald Trump. It's about a mission that is far greater than me. It's about standing up for what's right. It's about making sure America remains a nation under God, not under globalists, not under corrupt politicians. That's the message God showed me. That's the calling. And that's why I keep going. Because this is not my mission, it's our mission. And together, we will not fail. They thought they could destroy me. They thought they could take me out, finish me, erase me from history. The media, the politicians, the corrupt establishment, they tried everything. But guess what? I'm still here, stronger than ever, louder than ever, and more determined than ever. Because victory, real victory, isn't about money. It's not about applause. It's not about being loved by the elites who never cared about this country. Victory is about standing for truth when nobody else will. Victory is about doing what God called you to do, even when it costs you everything. Yes, I lost a lot. Friends, business, comfort. But I gained something much greater, the respect of millions of Americans who know I never gave up on them. And I gained something even more important, peace. The peace that comes when you know you've obeyed God's call. Every attack, every headline, every witch hunt, it all backfired because it showed the people that I couldn't be controlled. It showed them that no matter what they threw at me, I stood tall, and that gave hope. It gave millions the courage to say, if he can stand, we can stand too. That's the real victory. Not a trophy, not a medal, not a headline. The real victory is fulfilling the mission. It's knowing that when the history books are written, they will say, there was one man who refused to bow, who refused to quit, who refused to sell out. And that, folks, is why I say, I won. I already won. Not because of wealth, not because of power, but because I kept the faith, I kept the fight, and I kept the message God gave me. When I look back, I see the battles, I see the scars, I see the nights when it would have been easier to quit, but I didn't quit. I couldn't quit because this mission is bigger than me. I gave up everything. They offered me comfort, wealth,